Hello and welcome to the second replay review. Thank you Suicidal for sending me this replay. This is a Goodlands 4 versus 4 and it's going to take around 17 minutes, and Suicidal wants to know what went wrong this game and what he could do better next time. So I cannot call this game Suicidal, or like the video, right? Because the YouTube search algorithm is going to rank me down. I'm going to come up with something that sounds like Suicidal and put that into the title. I hope you don't mind. You are going for Hydro Rush, which is very good. This is your ACU rally point. That's unfortunately too close to the Hydro. So I would put it here, and you can save like 3 seconds. And that's going to let your Hydro finish quicker. And that's 300 power in the bank more, right? So be a bit more economic with the build range. And I can see you're going second tank, possibly because you're expecting some raid. But let's see. Oh, you're playing against the pony. Well, there's not going to be raid, I can tell you that much. The pony is an eco whore, and I have never seen him do anything except eco whoring. He's eco whoring well, but you should not expect laps from him, usually. And if you go second tank like this, like you had one scout, one tank after your first engineer, and now you have one more engineer, it seems, 2 more engineers maybe, and then a second tank already. This is when you have to attack, right? If you prioritize tanks like that, you have to use them offensively. And they could be hitting something reclaiming here. Okay, there's nothing reclaiming here, which is bad, but his fault. They could be hitting the Hydro, and they could be hitting this expanding engineer in the back. So building tanks and not using them is like not having tanks. And you're just wasting eco, right? That's 100 mass wasted right here. And now let's check out your air. That unfortunately looks like a bad idea too. You're going for an interceptor scout mix with 0 bombers, and you're facing Aeon. And you cannot really use T1 spam against Aeon, because Aeon tanks are going to outrange you. So it doesn't matter if you have 50 THAMs against 20 Auroras, or 100 THAMs against 20 Auroras, or 20 THAMs against 20 Auroras, right? The idea is that you'll always lose, because you cannot fire at him while he kites. That's how people play Aeon, right? And of course, it is not that extreme, but T1 spam is not going to work out. It just isn't. So you're building more power than you need for operating these factories, but that's probably because you're going for an ACU upgrade, I suppose, right? And that's not a bad thing. So this power spam is okay. It's not overdone, and it's not too greedy either. But which upgrade are you getting? The choice of upgrade is going to determine the outcome of the game, because gun can probably do a lot. The enemy ACU is upgrading. It already has radar in the back. Okay, I won't question it. All right, okay. This is apparently a thing. Radar rush at the back of the base, and it's getting T2. So big questionable choice, I suppose. But it's the pony, and he's going to be eco whoring, so he knows what he's doing, I guess. And you are going for T2. No, don't go for T2. You cannot go for T2. Let me pause this for a second and explain why. You don't have a single mass upgrade. You don't have reclaim engineers. Like these engineers, okay, they are reclaiming some. You have 900 mass in the bank. But if you did not build these 2 tanks at the beginning, you could probably have 500 reclaim more, something like that. If you use manual reclaim, you could have even more than that. There are so many like reclaim spots you have completely ignored so far, and you have no mass, right? You have absolutely no mass. You're mass stalling on a map with a lot of reclaim on it, and you cannot go T2 without mass. So I think I know where this is going. You are the type of person who thinks that if the enemy goes a gun or T2, and you have gun and T2, you're going to win. Well, no. Because a gun and T2 are both kind of a rush game. It's like going for RAS, right? And if you play air and you want to rush RAS, and there's not going to be an air player who says, well, the enemy is going for RAS, so I go for T3 build power on my ACU and RAS, and the extra build power is going to help me to complete the RAS faster. What? No, right? That doesn't work. And going T2 and gun is kind of the same, right? If you are playing against a super passive opponent, it can work out. But since the pony is going to be very cautious, I suppose, and since he's going to go T2 and throw up some PD over here, T2 PD that is, right? Your tech upgrade is going to expire, and your gun upgrade is going to expire too. So time is not your ally here. And that's why skipping T2 and going for gun would be much better. The gun upgrade could be killing all these auroras. And speaking of auroras, you have 7 interceptors and no bomber. Why? 1 bomber can kill 8 aurora in 1 blow, I guess. And that's when they're dodging. Seraphim bombers are extremely good at doing that. So that's wasted air control. You don't need any of these fighters, actually. So let's take a look at the map again and see what they have. Well, I see fighters for the enemy, 5 fighters. And that's it. That's all the air units. 1 scout, okay, but no bombers, right? So why are you building interceptors? You should be using that scout and see what they have. And when you can figure out that they don't build interceptors, or not a lot, right? You can pretty much stop building interceptors and go for bombers instead. The bombers could be killing auroras, and you wouldn't even need an ACU upgrade in the first place, I suppose. If the bombers kill all auroras, you can move in, right? And no transport is not going to get you this plateau. And this plateau is extremely important on this map. It is not as important as the plateau on Badlands. That's the one where you can shoot the enemy base from the plateau with MML, right? I don't think that works here. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. And you cannot like cliff build on the plateau, which is why you usually get it later on this map. But either way, it's still going to allow you to drop your own units behind the enemy plateau. So the idea is you build some defenses here, some PD, some anti-air, some radar. This way you're going to see what the enemy has, thanks to the radar. And there's pretty much no way you cannot build a transport, fill it with units, and drop them over here. Because you can still evacuate it on the plateau if they have interceptors, and your anti-air on the plateau is going to kill it. Plus, if you have the intel advantage, and the enemy radar is in a bad spot, not covering the entirety of this side, he's not going to have time to react in the first place. So this plateau still gives you a positioning advantage on this map. And if you have so much air, building 1 transport is not going to cost you a lot. Filling that with engineers and getting the plateau. So that's what you should be doing. Bombers, getting the plateau, and going gun instead of T2. And I don't think how you could possibly lose this if you do that. The bombers create instant pressure. The gun is going to kill what's left. And it doesn't look like the pony has a lot of mass either. So even if he finishes his upgrade, he can build PD, but it's going to cripple his eco so much, you can just overcharge it. He will be spending mass building the PD, while you're spending power killing it. So that's a very good deal for you. So these are lots of bad choices, I have to say. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. And now you can see why this is not working out, right? The gun is not actually faster because you have T2 first. Since you're limited by mass and power and not by build power. So you didn't need the T2 in the first place. So why are you getting it? Are you getting it for T2? Excuse me, yes, you're getting T2 for T2, but are you getting it for the heal rate of the ACU maybe? Are you getting it for the HP? If that is the case, you shouldn't do it, because there's going to be veterancy everywhere if you use the gun. And the veterancy is free, but the T2 upgrade HP costs 800 mass and time, and the time is more important. But you could have the same HP as you have now if you just fought instead of upgrading, right? And now you can see what's happening. Pausing again. Oh my god, this looks bad, but let's take a look at you first. So, you're giving him time to build this PD. Your T2 was faster than his T2, but since you also went for gun, he had time to make this PD. And his T2 is kind of more reasonable than your T2 because he has at least some mass, right? And we can also check out the reclaim count. So, yes, he has 3 times as much reclaim as you. So, he can go T2, he's excused. But you're not. So, just to clarify it, you can go T2 with your ACU if you have mixes. And to get these, you usually build this wall you're queuing up now. You should have built this earlier, right? So if you have an ACU and a wall and maybe a PD, T1 PD, then you don't need units at all. Maybe get like 5 RDs, something like that, to make it impossible for him to lock you out of the upgrade while you're upgrading, right? But the PD is also doing that. So RD and PD is going to keep Aurora from trying to kill you while you're upgrading, right? And then you can get the T2 upgrade. The wall is going to make sure nothing comes in from the side. And you can take mexes and build engineers instead of tanks and get the reclaim, which is kinda what he did. He didn't build the wall and he upgraded in a weird spot and made a bit too many units for a real eco-warring setup. But what he's doing is at least closer to how you're supposed to get T2. And what you did just didn't make sense. Because your entire eco went into units you weren't using, into interceptors that weren't bombing because they can't bomb, right? And into an upgrade that you can only use if you have lots of mass, and mass is not what you have. So that's just bad decision making, right? The BO was okay, but the decision making was horrible. And about this, do I really have to explain it? We have a gun ACU here, we have a T2 ACU here, we have 2 armies, and we have 1 small army. GG. Okay, but take a look at this again. He's building the PD, you're trying to dodge. Well, you either go in or you go out, but you don't zigzag in PD range. So, yes, I showed you some dodge micro, that's right, small circles, that's how it works. But you still have to keep in mind that you usually want to move into some direction, right? If you always move in small circles inside the range of the unit that's shooting at you, you're not getting away from it. So the way you queue up dodge micro when you're facing Aeon T2PD or UEF T2PD is in the shape of a snake, right? It's going to be some zigzag like this. See? And not just a circle, because the circle is going to prevent some damage of getting through, but you're still getting damage because you're in range, right? The goal is to get out of range. Oh, this is even worse than I thought. He's getting triple teamed now. And Blue doesn't really have units to help him. And where's Blue's ACU? Here. Building... That's a Jester setup, I guess. But I don't think it will work. Or at least it won't work on this side. Maybe on that one. Okay, short recap. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is just insane. You have 12 interceptors, and let's see what the enemy has. Whoa, that's a lot. But I guess he's excused, because he doesn't want to get sniped. And he's building Jesters, so a snipe could be happening soon, while he's pushing. But you're not pushing at all, and that's your first bomber at minute 9 against Aeon. My god. You should go double air against Aeon, or triple air, maybe. Of course you also have land factories, right? But you still need multiple air factories. Playing against Aeon is a little different. You can use anything against Aeon except T1 land units, and you're kind of using only T1 out units. And the only other thing that you had, the gun upgrade, was kind of useless because you went T2 first and you got too low HP from the PD. Yeah, very tragic. But you're using the bombers now, and they're going to... Okay, let's take a look at this. So, these are small things, but still useful probably. There's one bomber flying in now, and going to the group over there. Well, nope, and that's not going to get through. The bomber is going to get shot down first before it arrives, for sure, because it's going to fly through this and through this anti-air, and one is already enough to stop it. So you could be aiming this at the group in front. Second bomber and third bomber, they are targeting two tanks that are so close to each other that it's not going to make a difference. So my recommendation would be the close bomber targets the group in front, and the two other bombers fly the far way around the group and go here first, and then attack here first. Here, right? And both of them. So they first go here and then they attack. That's it. So these small things, like how you use your bombers, actually matter a lot, because you'll see how strong these are. Like, they will get through. So that's one bomb wasted, but still. Yeah, completely wasted. See, the second bomb only killed the scout. But it killed 16 tanks, the single bomber, right? And simply because of that, it's very good. And you should be really careful how to use them. Because they cost 120 mass after all, right? That's a lot. And 40 seconds build time, also a lot. Okay, you are pushing now? Yes, you're pushing against T2 PD. That's fake PD, that's nothing, but... that's just... I don't know where to begin. His Auroras are already better than your tanks. And they are so much better than your tanks are borderline useless. Then 3 T2 PDs can probably stop a T2 ACU, and using the spam without the T2 ACU and a gun ACU, right? It's not going to work out. So you should be sending these units over here to this position, because it can buy your blue guy some time to get gun upgrade and more jesters. And time is what he needs, I suppose. He has some T2 tanks. Questionable decision because of all the gun upgrades we see here. But I guess if you are stuck with a T2 setup, it's okay. Yeah, he has so many T2 factories. At this point, I would recommend him to probably switch 2 to T1 RD and the other 2 to Beetles, maybe? And use the protection of these tanks to get the Beetles in. He also has stealth, so that's cool. Yeah, this is just a mass donation, right? I find this out. That's upcycling it in your base would be better, actually. Like, either using it to help your ally, or you send it to the back of your base, Control K everything, reclaim it, put 3 engineers to T1, 3 factories to T1 engineers, upgrade 1 to T2, and spam MMLs with the support of the other factories' engineers supporting it, right? So yes, maybe that was too short. When you are stuck with a spam setup and you want to get a tech setup super quickly, because that's the only way to get past the T2 PD, what you do is you switch all factories but 1 to engineers, and 1 factory goes T2. And after you have a couple of engineers, say 15, 20 maybe, that's already a lot, but something like that, you Control K your factories, right? The 3 engineer building factories. The engineers are going to put the mass of these factories into maybe 1 max upgrade, should be affordable with that, and some extra reclaim from the sides. And then you have the T2 factory and some extra mass to make use of the T2 factory. And this is how you can kill the T2 PD with MMLs, right? And your tanks that you're currently sending at him could be either here, as I said, or you could self-destruct them to upgrade 2 more mixes, right? And this is not going to be ideal, right? I realize you're kind of outnumbered and push back, and this is all very difficult to get through, right? I mean, like to get out of this situation is very difficult. But throwing units and somebody you cannot kill is not a good idea. But maybe I'm also underestimating Seraphim Arty. Maybe I'm overestimating his judgment because he's moving in. Yeah, he's kind of suiciding. So yes, you're killing him. I can see that's a kill, but he suicided. So it was not really a kill. The gunship's going to die, but you're still on low HP and you'll die there as well. Pretty sure. So I don't really comprehend what happened here and how he managed to get killed by this, but it was not because you played well. It was because he didn't watch out. Something like that. He shouldn't have been able to die in this situation normally, because your entire setup didn't make sense, right? So yeah, that's kind of tragic, this entire game. This could be a kill. This definitely is a kill. Nice job, Xerxes. And the ACUs are upgrading here, so what can I do about this game now? They should go in here. I take these units and attack here, on top. But since... oh, you guys actually see the map. Yeah, you could see the entire map, thanks to the scouting. So these are well-positioned scouts, and you should have attacked, I think. Because the base is kinda beyond saving, probably. Like, these streaming units don't matter. The PD can take care of it, but I mean, this base is going to die for sure. So using these units to damage the opponent as much as you can would probably be better. Like, you can kill most of Greed's power and maybe get in here and just go for a kinda base trade-ish situation. Because all the units that died here, I mean, they died on your side of the map and you can get the reclaim. That's not bad, right? But you're still losing the units and you don't have time to build up a production lead again. So these PDs could have taken care of it. The factories have enough HP to tank the stream of green units, and these would be better used elsewhere. And now we have Ravagers, I think. Yeah, ridiculous. That's no style at all. I would have gone for T2 power and shield and just ran in there, but that's UEF people, I guess. Always have to show off. And yep, the game is over. So let's just watch the end of it. Probably trying another gesture snipe attempt. Yeah, but the middle is kinda undefended. I don't think that the PD reaches everything. Yep. Units could be, like the T2 units there, which are being used here, could be moving in via this side and attack here. So these are pillars. The rhinos are going to slaughter them easily, I suppose. And it would be better to attack with the units that are left. Because like a PD creep is always advancing relatively slowly. So even though you lose your base, you can also kill theirs. Or at least damage it, which is better, right? Yeah, so that was kind of a crazy game. Please don't ever think that a combination of T2 and gun is going to beat either gun or T2, because you can only get both by the time the enemy has won if the enemy is a fool. The intuition is that a gun needs to be used right away when you have it, and T2 also needs to be used right away when you have it. And if you get the other, then you cannot use it right away. That's the simple explanation. And the more complicated explanation is that the two can never be treated as equivalent upgrades, because your base layout should depend on the upgrade choice, or the other way around, right? It doesn't matter. If you're on a high power setup with land spam and a low amount of mass upgrades, or reclaim, or both, right? Then you go for gun. And if you're on a high power setup, if you're on a low power setup with some mass extractor upgrades, engineers, and reclaim, but not so many T1 units, then you're going for tech. And that's it. Because if you use the other, then you won't have the synergy you need to overrun your opponent. And I think the pony did wrong, because he had lots of auroras, spamming them out of 4 factories. Like, there was probably like, yeah, this was an air factory and he had 4 land factories. So assuming he had 1 factory building engineers non-stop, these were still 3 factories building aurora. And given that aurora are so much stronger than THAMs, he probably could have economized on the tank production a little and gotten more engineers in mixes and gone for T2 and had all of this quicker. That stopped your push. So if you try to look away from the very detailed gun and tech intuition and you want to get some more abstract advice, it would be to commit. So you cannot be okay at 2 things. This game is usually about being good at 1 thing. So thank you very much, and good luck, have fun in your games.